Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Happy nearly Christmas, very exciting. It is actually March 31st when I'm filming this, but I'm wearing a Christmas jumper because I'm gonna post this in December, so it will nearly be Christmas. The weather is so miserable that it feels appropriate to be wearing a thick jumper, to be honest with you. It sort of has spring vibes at the moment, but not really. So happy nearly Christmas. Anyway, this is a Christmassy video because I've made some Christmas stockings. So my mum made this one for me. I don't know how old I was, but I must have been pretty young because I've remembered having it like my whole life. And it's just this like amazing patchwork one where the squares and triangles are like teeny tiny and it's all like hand sewn on top and it's like quilted inside and it's lined and it's got like a thing to hang it up and it's got very cute like fabric with little teddy bears on and it's like just wonderful. So I made myself a stocking. No, I didn't. I made boyfriend a stocking many years ago and it had the problem of like the neck bit of it or the leg bit of it is narrower than the actual rest of the stocking, so it's really hard to get stuff in and out and really hard to fill it as a result. I made myself one a little bit later on and tried to correct that problem, but just kind of made the exact same thing. And then I made a rushed one for our son last year, before Christmas last year, and it was just really rushed and it was really messy and I think it had like holes in it and stuff and I wasn't happy with it. So I decided to order some Christmas fat quarters. So I have a bunch. There was I don't know, it was after Christmas last year. There was like a bit of a discount on, and so I've got some that have like holly on them, some that have those flowers that I can't remember the name of, got some that's like gold leaves, and then this kind of like check print, and then I got plain green and red. Oh, and then this one that has snowflakes on. So I have to be honest, I wouldn't say these are like my favourite fabrics ever, my favourite Christmas fabrics ever, but I was struggling a bit to find Christmas fabric and I was just in that mood where I just wanted to get it done. I always make the worst decisions in that mood, I have to say, but I make them and they get done. So I do like the holly ones. Just some of the other ones, I don't know if I love them, but anyway. I got those and then I asked my son to pick out ones that he liked from that, and I mean he's 2.5, he was even younger then, so he didn't really know what I was on about obviously, but from the ones that he picked I then made him this stocking. So it's patchwork again, but it's really like big squares, they're like 7 by 7 centimetres. I think that included the ½ centimetre seam allowance that I gave, and then I did just a strip of green at the top. And then I did the toe and the heel in a different colour, which I kept the same on the front and back, although the squares I just did randomly, and they don't like, there's no like pattern matching or anything on the seam. I basically just cut the squares out, sewed them together in strips as much as I needed, so I think it was 24 squares per side. Then I cut, from that fabric, I cut out the shape that I needed. Then I sewed on the strip at the top, the toe and the heel, for each side, and then sew them together. And then I also did just a plain bit of red lining, which was just one piece for each side sewed together. And it's not padded or anything, or quilted, and I've not sewn at the top, so whether it counts as patchwork I don't really know, but I guess it does in the sense that it's bits put together. It's not perfect by any stretch, but it's not bad. I will say that I'm just not careful enough, like with my cutting out, to get everything exactly the right size. So some of the seams don't line up. Kind of see here, it doesn't quite line up, which it should do if all the squares were the same size and the seam allowance was all the same size. But clearly, it wasn't. It doesn't take much to, it doesn't take much to get it out of line. So that's a little bit frustrating when I was doing it, and there were bits when I had to like try and get it to line up and like smush it together a bit, and like when I was sewing the lining to the main fabric, I don't know if that's going to be visible, but I've had to like smush the main fabric a bit to get it to fit. And then, but I did put his name on there, because my sewing machine does letters. I would say that his name is, it's not super easy to read, but I then did mine and boyfriend's. I used slightly different fabric for ours. So for my boyfriend's I used more of this one with the flowers on it, and for mine I did more of the holly. What I did when I cut out my son's though is I had laid out all the fabric next to each other to see what it would look like. I didn't really do that so much with these ones, and what I ended up happening was that I have like loads of this holly fabric right next to each other, like on the front and the back, and I think it looks a bit, it doesn't look quite as good. The like placement of the squares, even though I did place them out and kind of see what they look like together, it hasn't worked as well as the one that I did for my son. And I'm not entirely sure why that is, but I think I was just doing it more quickly, and again it's rushing. I'm just not as careful as I should be with these things. And then I had to overlap again. The lining and the main fabric were not the same size, clearly, so I had to overlap the main fabric, and that is again just not being as careful with like seam allowances and things, and not getting the seam allowances the same on both. It's very frustrating because it was a time-consuming project, and it's like, ugh, when you make these mistakes it's just quite annoying. And something went funny with my boyfriend's when I was cutting out when I had all the squares and I'd sewn them together, and then I was cutting out the shape of the stocking. One side just didn't fit on I had to add like an extra square in. So this one has like an extra little tiny bit of square there that the other side doesn't. And I do not know what happened. I do not know why it needed that extra square, because it shouldn't have done. But it does mean that then when I was sewing the two pieces together, they didn't quite match, and I had to like, again, kind of fudge it a bit. I don't know what went on there, but his one was just a little bit odd. I gave him red at the top as well, just to mix it up and be a bit different. But he's got his name on there. I've got mine. My name only just about fit in the square, and it actually ran out of thread halfway through, so I had to unpick it all, which took ages, and then re-sew it on. But we've got names. The other kind of flaw is that they all look really similar, which I suppose makes it kind of cohesive. But it does mean that they're like a bit harder to tell apart. But since it's going to be me that's filling them, well, I'll be filling two of them, and I insist on someone else filling mine. Yeah, it shouldn't hopefully be too problematic. Yeah, one thing that I did that I thought was kind of nice is with my son's, I put a square of the, nope, that's not my son's. See, this is what I mean, I'm getting confused. Right, with my son's, I put a square of the holly fabric here, and on this side I put a square of the flowery fabric. And I didn't use it any more of that fabric for his. I just did that because I knew I was going to use it on ours, and I thought it would be nice, like, to connect them. And then because his fabric has the snowflake, his stocking has the snowflake fabric, I've put a square of snowflake on both of ours. Again, to like sort of connect them. What I do if we have another child, I don't know. Just make the exact same one as my son's, maybe, to make it really fair. Don't know. But yeah, those are my stockings. I will say I don't think they look quite as neat as my mum's ones. But they'll do. They'll do. So let me know what you think in the comments, and like and subscribe.